All right. Hey guys, today I'm here with Ray Calloway, website designer, podcaster, and CEO of Black Girl Daily, a platform designed to uplift Black women and highlight them doing great things all over the globe. The next few minutes, we're going to talk about all things media, what it's like balancing your brand, personal life, and keeping it all together. Please welcome to another episode of Diaspora Divas. I'm here with Ray, and stay tuned. All right. Hi, Ray. How's it going?
Good, girl.
Good. I'm happy to have you here with me today. I think first things first, tell us, who is Ray Calloway and how did you get your start?
So I am the owner and creator, I know you said earlier, Black Girl Daily. I also run my other business called Ray Cal Media. So I am someone who has always wanted to I care about Black women. Let's start there. I want to see them do well. I started Black Girl Daily with the premise of sharing things I wanted to know when I was younger. So that's kind of where the blog posts are centered around things I wanted to know when I was younger, situations I was trying to navigate, especially like relationships, friendships, sex, spirituality,
everything.
All the things, right? All the things that we kind of go through. I do have a 3-year-old daughter. I have been married for going on 7 years this year.
Wow. That's a big feat, girl. Let me tell you, because I'm married too, so I understand it's work.
It is work. And we can get into all of that. I'm so much more than being a wife and a mother. I know there are people who feel like, my purpose in life is to be a great mom and a great wife and take care of my family. And I totally respect it. And I think that is for people. But as for me and, my brain, I just feel like there's a long list of things that I would name for myself prior to saying, I'm a wife and a mom. And that's just me trying to just hold on, just cling to my identity, because it's so easy to lose it in a relationship, or it's easy to lose it as a parent because you want to give, your all to your child. That's me, girl.
We got a lot to dig into for sure, because you named so much stuff. So I'm excited to dig in. So you talked a lot about, putting other identities first. And I struggle with the same thing because I'm like, there's so much I want to do. And yes, I really cherish my family. I cherish the fact that I'm a wife and a mom. But I'm like, I'm a filmmaker and I am a boss. Like, I want to get this stuff done. So sometimes it can be hard trying to prioritize, what's more important and what's not. So, but with all that, tell us about, like, for you, what is it like? What's one big misconception people have about you? Like, when they're looking at everything that you do, what's one big misconception?
Ironically, when we were communicating through email and I received some information about like how this interview would go, one of the questions was, how do I handle being an influencer? And I asked in my stories on my personal Instagram, like, do y'all consider me an influencer? I think that's probably like the biggest misconception. I don't consider myself an influencer at all. So there were people who were like, yeah. And I'm like, how? And they're like, they were like, well, you might not influence people to like purchase a certain product. You might not be an influencer that way, but you do influence people to look at themselves or live a better life, or increase the amount of self-love they have, increase the amount of self-awareness they have. You influence people to do those things. And I'm like, okay, I'll accept it. But I'm like,
I think the thing with influencing is, it's so funny. I feel like we have a lot in common because someone told me that I was like an influencer before, and this was like, a few years ago when I was really, really into the whole Instagram thing. And, something just shifted for me. I just felt like, I'm really trying to analyze what is the purpose of me doing all these things. And, for you, you have an amazing platform, right? I think people come to your platform to get the inspiration that they need. But sometimes, like, social media can really be focused on, yourself and what you're doing and all these other things. And it's not bad. I mean, some people make their livings off of it, but it can be very taxing in a way. I don't know if you understand what I mean by that. So that's why when people say influence, I'm like, oh, that's not me, because it's too much sometimes.
Right. Yeah, it's too much because they have to show up. I mean, there are influencers who take breaks.
Exactly.
They have to show up every day, if not every day, 5 days a week. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not a whole lot of downtime.
Exactly. And you probably know, to take pictures, create content, you got to put on makeup, you got to get the angles, the light. You could be trying to get 2 pictures and it take you like, 2-3 hours. It's like, it's a job. Mm-hmm. So not everyone is about that life. I sure am not no more. I'm tired, but interesting, very interesting. So I know we talked about, what you do. Can you tell us a little bit about, like, so I know in the beginning you said that you wanted to do Black Girl Daily because you wanted to share information that maybe wasn't really fully explored when you were growing up. What is it? Can you go more into that inspiration and why you decided to do a website and an Instagram page? Like, why did you decide to go that route?
Absolutely. So I had to figure out what would look right for me to share the information that I had. So there are a few different avenues that people take. People will write books, will become speakers, and they will travel around and, speak to different groups of people. I knew that I had a kid, so there probably wasn't going to be a whole lot of availability for me to go around and speak. To just give you even more background information. So I was raised by a single mother, as many of us were. I have an emotionally stunted father. So what that means to me was that the things that I felt like I needed to know or understand when I was a teenager, it wasn't given to me. The things that a father should perhaps tell his daughter or how he should care for his daughter, that just was non-existent. So because of that, I fell into I'm gonna look for, the attention I want from this little boy over here who really in real life can't do nothing for me. But at that time, many of us fall into that trap. If we have absent fathers, then we're looking for like some sort of man to give us what we're missing. So, which is often packaged in like daddy issues. Yeah. So it is. That's like the many facets of daddy issues. So with that being there, and then my mom, bless her heart, but she was always at work, and she tried as best she could to raise my brother and I, but if you're a single parent, you're trying to make sure they're fed and they're clothed and they're housed. And of course, you want to spend more time with them and give them more information and whatnot. But she comes from the generation of a generation who didn't really talk about certain things. So, for example, like her parents might not have really had like an in-depth conversation about sex with her. Mm-hmm. So I can't really expect her to have an in-depth conversation about sex with me because that's not the generation she came from. Yeah. The generation prior to her, they didn't really believe in like mental health. It was more so, well, call Jesus and we'll pray it away. And instead of like really addressing what the issues are and working through them. So I'm thankful that our generation now, we seem to have a much tighter grasp on dealing with mental health and taking away the stigma of seeking out a therapist and so on and so forth. Anyway, back to my childhood, girl. So that was kind of where that came from. So I had to do a lot of, I don't want to call it soul searching necessarily, but I had to do a lot of self-reflection in my early 20s because I was making some fucked up decisions basically. And it was like, do you want to continue on like this?
Yeah.
I don't.
I mean, so with the whole daddy thing too, like for me, my dad, I lived in a 2-parent home, but I didn't have a great relationship with my dad because he was very like distant and really, I relied a lot on my mom. So I definitely agree with you there. I feel like my father didn't really know how to show emotion. So definitely like when I'm thinking about how I acted in relationships later, when it comes to just feeling like I got to do everything, because that's just how my parents' marriage was. Like they got to do everything. Like my mom had to do everything. So I kind of went into some relationships like that. And in retrospect, it probably wasn't good. And I think we all made bad decisions in men, no matter what. Like sometimes I'd be looking back like, oh my God, what the hell were you thinking, girl? But that's how it be. Like really be like, oh my God, like what in the world was that? Like, right. And now we just like ions away. Tell me about how was it like starting your own podcast and what is the podcast industry? So I don't have a podcast though. I mean, honestly, nowadays, a lot of this stuff you can record. I don't know if you've been on Clubhouse, people recording stuff. Everybody's going to have a podcast soon. But you obviously been doing it before the Clubhouse wave. And tell me about podcasting and what it's like being in that industry.
Podcasting allowed me to be able to have conversations that were able to go more in depth than a blog post. Sure, blog posts can go in depth, but when you have someone on and y'all can kind of have that conversation and then it kind of goes into other areas that you perhaps didn't consider when you were originally writing something. I think that's one of the advantages. Also, you have access to people, even though more than likely they have like access to the internet on their phone, but you also have access to them via a podcast because people can listen for free from their phone. So that's probably one of the other advantages. Connecting with people more, you can have, more people on a podcast. There are podcasts where it's like 4 or 5 people on there. I've never had that many people. It's always been me and one other person, but you can have endless conversation. There are people who have podcasts that are 2 hours long, 3 hours long. And you just have a conversation. And when people are listening, sometimes they feel like they're sitting right there, just sitting sitting next to you listening. They may comment out loud. But it's just another way to connect to your audience, for people to hear your voice, hear your tone, kind of understand where you're coming from.
Do you feel like blogging is dead?
No. I don't feel like blogging is dead because there's still instances where people cannot listen to something. Also, at least with blogging, you can type in what you're searching for and then a blog post will come up. It's a whole lot more difficult for someone to search for something on a topic that's in a podcast because unless the podcast is transcribed, Google, they won't know what you were talking about. They'll only go based off of the topic or like the episode description notes.
Right.
But I think blogging is still very relevant. You can include links. If I say, "Oh, I got what I'm talking about from Walmart," someone can't hear and see what I'm talking about. But in a blog, I can post a picture of it. I can have a link to it. They know where they need to go and purchase it or see it or whatever. So I don't think it's dead at all. I don't think it's dead at all.
Tell me about what is it like starting your own media company? Like, what were some thoughts that you had when you first started? Like, because, it takes a lot of work.
Right.
To be pushing out content like that. Like, what does it take? Like, what kind of mindset do you have to have?
I think in the beginning, you have to figure out, who are you talking to? Like, that's the biggest question. If you start anything, really, like, who is your target market? But especially if you create a website or a blog, who are you talking to? Who are you expecting to read this? And always trying to keep that audience in mind when you are creating. Of course, say what you want, but also consider the people who are consuming it and perhaps how this is going to help them.
So, kind of shifting gears a little bit, how do you balance your social media and your mental health?
I balance social media and my mental health, one, by not following any pages that I don't want to. There are people who follow stuff that make them feel bad, that make them feel inadequate, that make them feel some type of way. So I don't follow social media pages that would make me feel that way.
Yeah.
I also set aside time for it. So if I need to post, I'll do like a burst of posts and I'll be on my phone posting stuff for maybe like an hour or two. And then I don't get on for maybe a few hours. And then, I'll check and see if someone messaged me. I try and stay on top of my messages so I don't get overwhelmed. But I don't really be on there.
What do you think about everyone being a entrepreneur and branding and all that stuff? Like, what do you think about that?
What do I think about everyone being an entrepreneur?
Right. Like, so now that we're in a wave of entrepreneurs where like everyone wants to start their own brand, wants to, sell something, wants to be a coach, wants to, have a website. Like, before our parents, like most of them had jobs, they work, blah, blah. Now everybody now has a product, or a service.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a good thing? Or are you indifferent? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good thing only if the person follows through. But if they're only doing it because it's something to do, then it's like, that something to do is probably going to last like a few months. And then you're going to be like, all right, well, let me go find a job. But if you are passionate about what you do, then I think absolutely do it. If anything, if you're going to be a coach, then you need to do some internal work before you start coaching other people. I think a bad reputation that many Black businesses have is their customer service. So we'll have a great product, but the customer service is trash. And sometimes we're like, well, I still want to support because it's a Black business. And it's like, no, the customer service is trash. I'll find another Black business to support, but I might not continue to support that one. So that's probably my advice to someone: learn some customer service. Have gratitude when you're working with people, because sometimes in corporate, we'll get mad. Okay, perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
If someone works in a call center and someone calls and they're like irate and going off on you, and you like, I don't have to take this, I'm hanging up. They're not really mad at you.
Right.
But you're hanging up, but you work for somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of making them look bad. So when we transition over into having our own business and someone contacts us irate, we feel like, well, then you don't have to shop with me. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we can have that attitude. And you shouldn't have that attitude. You shouldn't tolerate disrespect, but you should also be more willing to try and resolve this issue as opposed to saying, well, you don't have to shop here.
Yeah. But Black businesses, it's a double-edged sword because you want to support, you really do. And both of us, we're Black businesses, right? So I actually have a fitness coaching service, and I really try to make sure my customer service is, up to par and to the T. But some people just don't, and you really be trying to give your money to them, and it's like pulling teeth because they suck. So that is one thing that we can work on. We just have to have some patience. But I honestly was really with the entrepreneur and brand thing, this concept has come up a lot in the last few days, this conversation of, is it too much, or why is everyone branding, blah, 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 everyone's a personal brand, blah, blah, blah. And I'm totally fine with it if that's what makes you happy. I think, we're in a generation where people have intellectual property, and they're selling what they want to sell. But to me, it's no different than the era where people would sell a bunch of shit in a market. It's just like everyone is now in a digital space selling, which is fine. But again, people should just kind of evaluate their reasons for doing what they do.
Yeah. Totally. I feel like some people are starting to take the fun out of it. Like, Instagram. Like, Instagram used to be, you just post random pictures, what you ate this morning. Now, if the angles aren't right, if the lighting isn't right, if it's not sponsored, or, if it's not in collaboration, if there's not a 3-paragraph deep thought situation going on with the picture, people don't even want to post it. And then they won't even leave it up. Like, if it doesn't reach this many likes,
they take it down.
Yeah, and it's like, come on, y'all. Just live your life. Like,
yeah. I've been there. Now, less so, because I really had to do a lot of internal work as to why is this even a thing, right? Like, what am I getting at the end? Like a few likes. I mean, it's digital currency that we take real seriously. So what is your main, like when it's all said and done, what is your main mission and what do you want to kind of be known for?
I would like to be known for promoting self-awareness, if nothing else. If you didn't agree with my advice, if you didn't think I handled the situation how I should have, so on and so forth. But if nothing else, I would want you to feel empowered to look at yourself, how you make decisions, how they affect others, how you treat yourself. I'm really pushing Black luxury at the moment. So many of my recent posts have been centered around Black women experiencing luxury and opulence and knowing that they are worthy of anything that they want, as opposed to how we've carried ourselves previously, how society has treated us. Of course, society has tried to take everything away from us. They make us feel like, we're inadequate or we're not as brilliant and magical as we clearly are. So that would probably be the other thing. I would want people to take away the fact that I wanted to make luxury normal for Black women. I wanted to make whatever it is that they want normal, as opposed to something that someone thinks like another Black woman has she can't attain for herself.
Right. Yeah, normalizing that we the shit. I love that. So can you tell us any challenges that you've had with becoming with starting this platform and being Black and a woman? Are there any challenges that you've had?
I wouldn't say necessarily challenges, because if my target audience is Black women don't really give me no problems. So if anything, my challenges as a business owner has been people wanting to collaborate with me who don't themselves showcase Black women. So if a company reaches out to me and they want to collaborate, I immediately go to their website. Where are the Black faces? I immediately go to their Instagram. Where are the Black models? And if she's, 52 weeks down, then it's like, why do you want to collaborate with me? Because I have an audience? Yeah, but you don't really care about my audience. So you just want to get eyes on your product or service, but no. So I politely, no thank you. I don't want to collaborate with people who don't genuinely care about my brand or my audience just for, like, a little piece of change. I don't know.
Yep. Right. But that is the future. I mean, that's what influencing is pretty much, people reaching out, you kind of pushing their message, and they want to reap some benefit off of your pill, essentially. But some people like that. Some people make money from that. But it just depends on what you stand for and what you want to do with your platform. And, it's not for everybody.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And that's just a personal preference for me. I think because of the type of person I am, it spills over into my business practices.
I mean, it's all about being genuine, you know what I mean? And I think that's something that you can feel and sense, it's something that's intuition based, in my opinion. Like, even if I haven't met someone but for 5 minutes, if I feel like positive vibes from them, I feel like I can foster a connection long term, just depending on, what I feel. So, but no, it's good to have that intuition, because not everybody is really out for your best interest. Unfortunately, that's just the world that we live in. Because I tell people this all the time, and it's something that I have to always tell myself as well, is that sometimes it's really not about you. Like, people say no and decline, or maybe don't get back to you, and it could just be that they're going through something internally by themselves, or just not really they just don't, everybody's not meant for you. So people should stop taking those things so personally. I feel like a no is always a destiny fulfilled. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, no, there'll be another opportunity, and, we can move on, and it's okay. You don't gotta curse nobody out. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
people are crazy. But yeah, so Ray, it's been a pleasure. Any kind of final words you want to leave? Like what kind of mood, what type of energy are you moving with through 2021, and what do you want to leave with your audience?
The energy that I'm always moving with is minding my own business. That's my energy all day, every day, minding my business. So I hope everyone does the same because it keeps your skin clear. I did a live about that last week, talking about the best thing to keep your skin clear is minding your business. That's what I do for my audience. I want them to just love themselves. I know Valentine's Day is coming up. We're in a panorama, and it's like it may not be as easy to try and do stuff for other people or with other people. So, my advice this year is: how can you love yourself? You know, how can you love on yourself? How can you create an experience for yourself for Valentine's Day and beyond? Not just for the day, but beyond. What type of ritual can you create around your self-care, and practicing it every week or every weekend, or every Wednesday, or however you would like to schedule it? I think that is very important, and it would do a world of good for your mental health and for people around you. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you take care of yourself, it spills over into your relationships. So that's something that I would want people to think about.
Yeah, I love it. It's Valentine's Day coming up. You know, self-love is the best love. When you love yourself, you're able to love other people. And yeah, that's kind of the energy I'm on for sure. So Ray, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I really, really enjoyed talking with you. And you guys go out there and support Black Girl Daily. You see right there the handle at Black Girl Daily. And check Ms. Calloway's platform out. Make sure you support the blog and the podcast as well. Available on all platforms, including Spotify, iTunes, the list goes on. And yeah, y'all, thank you so much for watching another episode of Vascular Divas. And we are out.